Michael, good evening. Today, the jury hearing and seeing key evidence in the case, including bullet casings and blood drops.
So I walked back down to the pile where they're working. Dr. Gooding and her team are still working. Investigator Olenek, who was taking my picture, says, "Sarge, here you go." And I went, that looks like a projectile. Everybody stop what you're doing right now.
You were investigating a death.
Correct.
But now you're investigating possibly a murder. Is that shifted?
Yes. This case was unique because, yes, we had a projectile, but it was still in a set of burned remains.
Day 2 in the burn pile murder trial focusing on key evidence. The jury was shown crime scene photos of the burn pit where skeletal remains of victim Gary Farris were recovered. Blood drops throughout the Farris farm, leading from the basement up the stairs, and a bullet casing like the one found in Gary's burning body.
When everything had been kind of sectioned off and pieces of the remains were being placed on a table, and there was a section that was identified as a part of the chest cavity, and I saw something that was inconsistent with the rest of the burned and charred material. Looked almost like a pencil eraser in there, and pointed it out to forensics, and it was identified as a projectile from a bullet.
Defendant Melanie Farris is accused of shooting her husband of 38 years and disposing of his body in the backyard burn pit. Her defense claiming that she had nothing to do with the murder, suggesting perhaps her adult children may have had a motive. Outside the courthouse today, I asked her about her relationship with her adult children. Take a listen. Ms. Farris, what's your relationship with your family right now? Are you sorry that your husband is dead and no longer with us?
No comment.
Is there anything that you can share? Are you going to be taking the stand? This is your opportunity to share your story. As you can see, she is out on $250,000 cash bond. If convicted, she faces life behind bars without the possibility of parole. Michael?
All right, Matt, thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it, as always. And folks, court has ended for the day, but we're getting you caught up on the rest of the testimony. Now, we left off last hour with lead detective Christopher Shaw on the stand. He's testifying about evidence found at the scene. So let's head back to court.
Test the setting on the monitor and see if y'all can adjust it. And show that in the morning, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
So 268, and then before trial, you were able to get with one of our investigators and adjust it. Is that right?
That is correct.
So this is 268-1, which is the adjusted, and what do we see here?
The chemoluminescent reaction, the blue star on the towel that we located in the back of the RTV.
And what is that indication of what it could be, possibly be?
An indicator of possibility of blood.
269, what do we see here at the bottom?
Chemoluminescence reaction.
And 269-1 with the adjustment, same thing?
Same thing.
270, kind of right here. 270.1. Is that adjusted?
Yes, sir.
So let's see if the... So this is 270, and you just adjust the light. Is that what you would do?
Yes.
So as I go with brightness to the left, it gets dark. If I zoom over, you actually can see it?
Yes, sir.
And then, so it takes a dark picture. When blue star on you, you're better able to actually see it pop. Is that right?
We're able to see the chemoluminescence reaction.
And basically what I just did there is what you do with these photographs.
Yes, sir.
270, 270.1, same thing, adjusted, unadjusted, adjusted.
Correct.
271, 271.1, 272, 272.1, 73. So off that towel, he has some illumination from Blue Star. Did you process the RTV, the tractor, the shoes, the shirt, the floor in the house, and we're going to probably talk about probably tomorrow, and we'll get in, but you also assisted with some other things in the case. Did you go back out when they were, went back out, and I think about a year later, looked for some casings on the property or some, there was a shooting range or something like that on the property. Did you go back out and help with that?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what y'all were doing there. What were you trying to do?
We went back out a year later. We flew the drone footage. We did some decibel meter testing, and there was an area on the lower, I believe it was the right side. It was down a pretty steep embankment where they had an old tree that they were using for target practice, as folks do out in that part of the county. So I went out there looking for projectiles to see if I could locate a projectile that I could send to the crime lab to possibly match to the 2 projectiles that were located that night at the scene.
And did y'all collect casings, bullets, things like that, and bring it back, and some of that was sent to the GBI?
Yes, sir.
I think we won't get into it tomorrow, but did you also come back out on July 18th, I believe, so that year or the next year? I think it was the same year. And with the marshal's office, actually do some sound testing.
That was July 18th of 2019.
2019. About a year later, I believe, and then y'all came back out and had some equipment to actually do a test fire and then measure the loudness of those gunshots. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to stop here, Judge. I'm not going to go into the test fire until tomorrow, probably. I'm just going to, can I tender it to them for their cross?
Cross on this portion.
I think it would be easier for me to do it all at once, if that's okay with the court.
Let's do something for.
Do something. I do it.
Yeah, let's try to split it up into what he's testified about now, and then we can cover this stuff tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, turn the lights. You need the photographs, or turn the lights back up?
Oh, please turn back up.
All right, so it seems like there's been an agreement that the state would sort of do their direct in chunks. So they finished this part. When we come back, we're going to have actually the cross-examination on the stuff that he's already testified to. And then, as you heard, tomorrow there'll be additional direct on different information. So keep it here on Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows ever.
This is crazy.
Now has a new home on America's original true crime obsession, 48 Hours, on Court TV. Coming up next on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, prosecutors say she shot her husband and burned his remains on their property. We'll bring you key moments from today's testimony in the burn pile murder trial.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back, folks. Before we head back to court, I want to bring in our guest for this hour. Joining us, Deputy Chief of Investigations for Gwinnett County, Georgia, Curtis Clemens is with us, and criminal defense attorney Robin Nunn joins us as well. Curtis, let me start with you. I want to talk a little bit about this testimony and its importance in this case. I think on one hand, it provides us with a lot of information about the fact that it probably took place in the house, which leads us to the conclusion that someone related to or in the house might have done this or probably did this. But we also have a couple of different people who might have. The defense is suggesting it was the son. Of course, the state is suggesting it was the defendant. What do you make of this particular evidence and how it's connecting the mother, the defendant, to this crime?
Well, I think when you look at this case, you have to look at the very basics of the crime. She had the means, she had the motive, and she had the opportunity to effect this crime against the victim in this particular case. We can always throw different scenarios and issues against the wall and hope that something sticks, whether it's her son or whether it's the gentleman that she was accused of having the affair with. But the bottom line is, who is most responsible for the death of the victim in this case? And I think the prosecution is making a solid case against her.
Yeah, fair enough. And Robin Nunn, what we're going to see now is almost in the middle of the direct examination of the lead investigator, the defense is going to have the opportunity to cross-examine him on things that he's testified to already. And then the direct will continue tomorrow, going in a different direction. I think tomorrow they'll talk about the firing of the weapon, some of the ballistics in the case as well, and how it connects to this dead body. But at the end of the day, have you seen this before? And is it something that you think could be confusing for a jury?
Yeah, I definitely think it could be confusing for a jury. I don't think this is an open and shut case by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still not clear on how this all took place. The defendant is very slight. This gentleman, the victim, is, I think, 6'3", over 300 pounds. I'm finding it a little bit unbelievable that she was able to shoot this person, drag their body, and put them onto a burn pile all by herself. I think it is highly unlikely that they're going to be able to show without a murder weapon that this indeed was her, with all sorts of evidence and probable cause. So I think that they have a tough road ahead, and I think we're really going to have to pay attention to today and tomorrow's trial testimony to see what really actually happened here.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. It's still a struggle for me to look at that defendant and say, this is the plan she came up with, and all the things they're saying that she did. Still not connecting for me just as yet. All right, guys, stand by. I want to get folks back into court right now, where the lead investigator, Christopher Shaw, is actually still on the stand, but he's now on cross-examination.
Now, so let's get into kind of what you did. With the house, because I know you had told me that you were still out at the burn pile around midnight and you found the bullet in the rib around that time, after midnight.
I believe it was after midnight, yes, sir.
All right. Now, we heard from, was it Sergeant Westbrook? He's the one that actually noticed the bullet first?
Okay.
Good. Not okay. Is that correct or not correct?
Well, if he noticed it first, then that's correct.
Okay, well, wouldn't he have notified you if he found it first? I guess here's my question. Who found the bullet in the rib?
I was notified by Investigator Olenek.
Investigator who?
Olenek. Who was
Olenek.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so he told you, and then that's when you would have called Lieutenant Ballard, I'm assuming, or somebody.
Yes, sir.
All right. And that would have been presumably into July the 5th.
Into the 6th, I believe. We were out there on the 5th.
Oh, yeah, you came on the 5th. It sort of went to the 6th, yes. All right. Okay. And you left at some point because you came back on the 6th.
Yes.
How did, because this is your crime scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was the crime scene secured overnight? Because I'm assuming not everybody stayed out there all night long.
That is correct. So my crime scene vehicle stayed out there. The sheriff's office, we stationed deputies at the entry point onto the property with the crime scene log.
Okay, with the crime scene log on 24 hours a day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, and that would have been done until y'all were done with the house. Now, granted, I know y'all have been out there several other times, including over a year later, right?
Correct.
So, but during that relevant portion of time, law enforcement was there the entire time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, setting up the grid, and I'm sorry, because of the way your direct was, so just going to kind of jump around, okay? So if you don't understand what I'm asking, just let me know. So you called Gooding to come out just because that's what she does, right? She's an anthropologist.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So she comes out and she's the one that sets up that grid, along with, you know, you and whoever else.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So she would have done that. How long was it from the time you saw the body, made the determination, got the approval, that Dr. Gooding showed up?
Probably about 2.5 hours.
Okay. Is it during that period of time, because you testified earlier that the fire was so hot when you got there that you didn't feel comfortable working in it, right?
Correct.
All right. So did it cool off in that 2.5 hours to be a comfortable temperature for you to work in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What temperature did you let the fire get down to before you started working in it?
I don't recall if we measured it when I went into it. I know it was comfortable enough that we all made a determination we were going to start working.
Okay. Oh, it was measured by Shane Daniels, right?
Yes, sir.
With Cherokee Fire Investigator?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were out at the scene or at the burn pile, and you're looking at the remains, at any point did you touch any of the remains? Did you disturb any of the remains?
I did not.
Did any of the other investigators, as far as you know, touch or disturb any of the remains?
From the time I arrived on the scene, no one touched the remains until Dr. Gooding arrived.
Okay. So if Dr. Gooding comes and testifies, and she was like, this is where we found this, this is where we found this, this is where we found this, then that is where it was, at least when you got there.
That is correct.
Okay. Have you heard anything about anybody moving anything around prior to you getting there?
I was not made aware of anything.
Okay. I'm just pulling that up for when I need it. You had talked about this citronella smell and that you kept smelling around the burn pile, right?
Yes, sir.
Did anybody else, to your knowledge, ever say that?
I didn't hear anybody say it, no, sir.
Okay.
It was my observation.
Did you put it in your report?
I believe it was in my report.
Okay. You also you did note in your report that Shane Daniels had taken samples from the burn pile.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know whether or not those were ever tested for any type of accelerant or anything?
I believe they were sent off. Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that come back that you're aware of? The results of that?
I believe no accelerants came back.
Okay. You also, or do you know that Ms. Farris, they tested her hands for accelerants and that she was negative for accelerants? Did you know that?
If it was mentioned to me, then yes, but I know he did his fire investigator duties while at the scene.
Okay. So, best you know, there's no accelerant, right?
Correct.
Correct. All right. Now, I'll come back to that. You stated that there was, you observed no blood at the burn pile, correct?
Correct.
And that would be, let me pull this, because this is a kind of a tricky picture. So this is actually a photograph. The house is to your back, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And so going from the house down to the burn pile, it's somewhat sloped, right?
Correct.
So you didn't observe any blood going from the house down to the burn pile, right?
I did not know, sir.
Okay. And you didn't observe any blood anywhere around the burn pile, right?
Correct.
Okay. Number 150.
I think the defense is going down a lane that I would go down as well, this idea that I don't think the body was burned, killed in the house, and then taken to the burn pile. I think it was taken somewhere else based on the evidence. I think that's what might be where they're going. All right, we do need to take a break right now. When we return, the defense continues its cross-examination of the lead investigator. Keep it here on Court TV Live. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing our coverage in the burn pile murder trial of Melody Farris. Now, she's accused of killing her husband back in July of 2018. The lead investigator in the case is still on cross-examination. Let's get back in court.
The towel that was collected. You just did the testing on this towel. You didn't locate the towel, correct?
Well, I mean, it was in the back of the RTV, but yes, we tested it.
Okay, and it's what your statement is that this is blood. Or is that it's presumptive for blood because of Blue Star? Okay. Now, did this go to the crime lab? This towel?
I don't know if it did or not.
Okay. Are you aware of any towels and hand or washcloths? I guess they are towels and washcloths that did make it to the crime lab?
No, sir.
Okay. If the crime lab tested a towel that the state believed had blood on it, it's a fairly good assumption that's the towel, isn't it?
We'll go with fairly good assumption, yes, sir.
Okay. Now this changing things. So how come, like you got the states 268, just on the, you can't see it on the TV screen, but I can on a computer monitor. I can see that it's the towel. Okay, so and then you change the settings and stuff so that you can actually see the Blue Star, right?
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Now, why do you have to do that on this, but you didn't have to do that on the tractor?
We had enough ambient light in the evidence bay. There's a single emergency light that must remain illuminated in our evidence bay. Mm-hmm. That provided enough light for the camera to capture the chemiluminescence. When we did the towels in the lab, we can turn off all our lights. And so we were trying to adjust our cameras out to pick up the reaction and see the outline of the towel.
I'm confused. I thought you needed total darkness to be able to see Blue Star. Okay. If I sprayed it right here on the table, now look, there's blood there. Would I see it light up?
Well, if there's blood on the table, we wouldn't need to use the Blue Star.
Okay, fine. There's blood on the table. I wiped it off. Now I spray the Blue Star on there.
It would need to be dark in here to see the chemiluminescence, and we would use the ambient light in order to adjust the camera out to take the picture.
Okay, so basically you have to get the light setting to a certain point to allow you to be able to see it. But it's not total darkness.
Correct.
Okay.
We're shooting on full manual functions on our camera.
Okay, so why don't you, for some of those towel photographs, instead of manipulating the contrast and the brightness of the photograph, just take it somewhere so you can actually take a proper photograph?
Because if you keep reapplying Blue Star, you'll lose the reaction. And so we have to try our best in our reaction time, because if you keep saturating the towel, you're not going to get a reaction at that point.
Well, wouldn't it be a smart idea to do the testing the first time in a place where you know you have the proper light?
We did in our lab.
I mean, obviously not if you got to sit there and change the settings on the photograph to be able to see it. And you don't need to do it on all of them.
Yeah, and what we did is acceptable.
Well, I didn't ask you if it was acceptable.
Moving, I mean, and changing.
Let's make it easy.
It did.
Well, no, because it's not in a written. You have manipulated the photograph by taking out what it actually is so you can see something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You didn't have to do that with the tractor because the tractor is in a proper spot to be able to see what you're trying to see, right? It has enough light to be able to see it.
Yes.
Okay, but you're testing the towel in a place that you're intentionally testing it there, and you can move it. I mean, it's a towel. You can pick it up, move it wherever you want to, and you can move it somewhere else, so you would not have to manipulate the photograph. Correct?
No, I could see the reaction in my camera, and I could see it in my lab.
But we just can't see it in any of your non-manipulated photographs, right? Like 268. Do you see any luminescence?
I do.
Okay. Judge, if we can, I'd like to stop there. I don't want to let him go just yet. So
All right, so that was the end of the cross-examination for this segment. Again, tomorrow, they'll pick up again with direct examination by the state, and then there'll be another cross by the defense. All right, let's bring back in our guest. Still with us, Deputy Chief of Investigations for Gwinnett County, Georgia, Curtis Clemens, and criminal defense attorney Robin Nunn. Robin, I want to get your thoughts on this cross-examination, where you think they're going, and are they effective?
Yeah, I think that the defense attorney has done a good job. I think obviously all he needs to do is create doubt, which is what he's perpetually doing by asking the lead investigator about the photos, the investigation, how the evidence was handled, why you can't see certain things. He's really trying to convey that there could be some other explanation for what happened that night.
Yeah, and again, if he can do that, create a little bit of doubt. Another way he might be able to create doubt, Curtis, I want to go back to the line of questioning a little bit ago, where he talked about the accelerants. There were no accelerants found on the burn pile, no accelerants found on the defendant at the time they did the testing. There was no blood leading from the house to the burn pit. Okay, now if you're dragging it, they're saying she's dragging this body from the house to the burn pit with this tractor tied up, and he was tied up on ropes. One would think there would be blood. So my question is, and I've been thinking about this, when you think about burn pits, the amount of heat that you can develop in a burn pit, I'm not sure that's enough to burn a body down to what we saw left in that burn pit. I wonder if they're going to try to suggest that perhaps this body didn't really burn in the burn pit, but those pieces were placed there and it was burned someplace else. Again, trying to raise some doubt.
I would have to agree with you on that one. I think the defense attorney is taking, the lead investigator down a road of confusion. And if he can show that the lead investigator is confused, then maybe there might be something wrong with the case. And then when you look at, the no blood, leading from the house to the burn pit, it is conceivable that, he may have been killed somewhere else and brought to that burn pit, or parts of him may have been brought to that burn pit. Again, as Robin said, it's a matter of creating doubt. If you can just create doubt in one jury member's mind that something is amiss with this case, that's all he needs. And I think the defense is going down that road, and the lead investigator should be very careful in how he answers those questions.
Yeah, no doubt. Robin, I want to get your thoughts on that, because again, I've said from the beginning, the little bit that I know, and I did a little research on burning bodies, for instance, it takes 2 to 5 hours to cremate a body at 1,400 degrees. And that's in a crematorium. You cannot make a fire in the wild that's that high, right? You can get it to about 200 to 300 degrees, and you would have to constantly be using an accelerant, which is why he was asking about the accelerant, in order to keep it burning enough to burn a body. He can make that argument in closing and say, look, they want to say that this body was burned in this burn pit, but according to all the physics, that's not even possible.
Yeah, I think that you've hit the nail on the head, Michael. I think that's exactly where he's going. He's slowly building a case that this is not even physically possible. And I think that he's going to spring that on us at the very end. I think that he's going to allow for the prosecution to set forth this evidence and these witnesses who are describing events that they believe occurred. And then I think he's going to wrap it all up with, even if that all occurred, it is highly unlikely that this individual who could have done that and it would have ended in this result. I think that's going to be the aha moment that he's hoping the jury will have here.
Absolutely. And I wonder if he'll call his own expert to tell this jury that just couldn't happen in this burn pit. All right, folks, we do have an up.